Hello, hello. Hey guys, welcome back to WoWcast, the YouTube channel slash maybe a podcast one day again. I'm not sure actually, but definitely going to be Twitch streaming it when the WoWcast Classic goes live. Again, I'm Alachia, and I originally did a podcast back in the day called WoWcast. And a friend of mine was actually asking me about if it was still available on RSS feeds, and I was telling him, no, it's actually not available anymore because it costs way too much to host a podcast that was pretty much dead. So I got rid of the hosting site a long time ago because it's super expensive to host a podcast. And he was like, well, do you remember the dates at which you had your podcast? And I was like, oh yeah, I have the XML. And I was looking back, and sure enough, it was November of 2005. Holy crap. November 2005 was the first time I did my very first World of Warcraft podcast. And I was listening to the first episode. And at the time when I had started the podcast, podcasting was totally new. And I had 2 level 60s at the time. I believe it was about, I want to say, a good 6 months before the Burning Crusade was about to come out. And I was absolutely in love with the format of being able to just talk about a game that I was totally in love with and talking about my play style and what I loved about the game. And the thing that got me thinking about all of this when I was listening to my episode 1, which by the way, you can listen to the old podcasts. I actually did put them on Mixcloud a while back after I deleted my hosting site. So I'll put a link to that in the description box if you happen to be curious as to what a very naive Alachia used to sound like, but one who is still very much in love with World of Warcraft. So that's the big difference between the two of us. So when I was thinking about it, was like, how am I going to go into this game differently, and what can Classic bring back to a lot of people who loved World of Warcraft? And especially a lot of people who maybe didn't even get to experience all of vanilla. You know, maybe they came at the tail end. I know a lot of people came in right at the tail end before the Burning Crusade came out. And there's just a lot of things that I think people should get pretty excited about when it comes to the launch of Classic WoW. First and foremost, as you can see here, this is, look at all the PvP realms, all right? And they just recently had to open up 2 more PvP realms because everything is so full. Look at that. Full. I think that's one of the things. Open world PvP, which doesn't exist in retail WoW right now, is one of the most fun things you can experience in an MMO. It is phenomenal. There's nothing like it. You'll never get that experience that you have of a bunch of people getting together and just having mass chaos happen, and then you just being part of something that's super organic, not something that's like, a scheduled raid time, a structured strategy at which you're going to do something. It's more like, holy shit, they're raiding Crossroads. Let's get to the place. Oh my God, South Shore is being invaded. Everyone get up there. And it's just at the beginning, when it's vanilla, everyone is still on the same level, the same playing field. You don't have people who are decked out in PvP gear. You don't have people who are decked out in PvE gear. They don't have tier 1, tier 2 yet. Most of the people, as we're going to be experiencing a lot of the world PvP events, that just kind of organically form here and there throughout, your experience of leveling up, is going to happen when people aren't even level 60. So you have an actual fighting chance of actually being part of that kind of chaos that world PvP brings, that is just completely lost as, of course, the differences between people at different levels kept increasing. You just had people who had extremely amazing Gladiator gear, and you just didn't stand a chance, etc. And then it got to the point where it was just such a spanking at a certain point, especially when there was an Alliance versus Horde distribution issue. For example, on my server, Boulder Fist, when I was playing at the time, it was 70% Horde and 30% Alliance. So whenever there was a giant kind of hullabaloo within the world and everyone got there, it was pretty much the Horde just sort of spanking our asses when it came down to the Burning Crusade, etc. But before that, when it was still in the vanilla stages of World of Warcraft, we all kind of felt like we were contributing a little. And it was just fun to be part of. Even when you don't have the gear and you're just dying and running back and dying and running back, you're just like, okay, we're all going to target this person. We're all going to target that person. And it's so fun. It's just sort of fun to participate in that level of chaos. And, that's something you only get to experience once because it only happens as a server is new. Once a server, the player base of a server, starts to level, that experience goes away and you can never get it back. And so I feel like get in there, experience this world PvP. I think, as long as you're up to level 30 or 40, you're going to have a good time experiencing that. Now, of course, if you hate PvP, no hate there. I understand why people find it frustrating. That's one of the things I love the most about the game. So, of course, I have to be on PvP. But I understand if you're not into PvP, that's your game style. That's your gameplay. That was one of the very interesting things that I remembered as I was re-listening to my episode 1 of WoWcast, was that everyone has their own different play style. But I will say, if you want to give it a chance, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. So I recently had created 2 characters. I think you can reserve up to 3 names on a server. No, on any server, total. And I was obviously trying to decide which server I wanted to play on. And I thought at first maybe it'd be fun to be on an RP PvP server. Realized I don't actually like to RP at all. So it'd be just more of an experience of watching. And then I thought, well, maybe I don't really want to do that. And plus, I have this bias, which is probably false and not true, but I have this bias that people who RP are not very hardcore. That's probably not true at all. It's just a perception that came from many years of bias about RP servers from my vanilla gameplay all the way up. So I decided I'll go ahead and make a character on Thalnos, which is a PvP East Coast server. And I thought East Coast because I want to be able to experience some sort of raiding if I make it that far. If I make it that far, I would like to experience some sort of raiding experience that doesn't last till like 2 or 3 a.m., which if you go Pacific time, that's definitely going to be the case. If you go East Coast time, they're going to stop earlier. So I was like, we're going to go East Coast. So I made a character on Thalnos. And then my friend Jeppy messaged me and he was like, hey, did you know they're going to actually be releasing 2 new servers that are going to come out that you can sign up on? And I just thought, well, that's great because look at Thalnos. It's full. It's already full and the game hasn't even launched yet. I was on a medium pop server when I was in vanilla WoW, and I thought that was a good size. It's full. It feels full enough. You don't have queues, and you have a chance to like do a lot of quests without there being wait times of waiting for things to respawn. Because one thing I think a lot of people may be forgetting about vanilla WoW is that the spawn times for mobs is immense. It is so frustrating. I cannot tell you how many times I sat there and was like, how many more do you need? How many more do you need? Did it drop? Nothing dropped on this mob? Okay. And, you're going to be in a rush to get to level 40 at least, or, even level 20 or, well, I guess like, what is it? About 40 is when things start to get really fun. And so I think no one's going to want to sit there and take their time experiencing the grind of waiting for mobs to spawn in a full pop server. Maybe some people do. I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I would not enjoy it. So being on a medium pop server seems like super awesome, right? So I was like, yes, I will seize this opportunity. Scarum Realm went online. I deleted my Grobulus account, the creator I reserved the name for on there, and decided to go ahead and go to Scarum, which is also an East Coast server. So that's perfect for me. I created my priest, and funny enough, here we go. Like you may see here, there's a Flip Max reserved right there. I thought to myself, I'm not going to tell my best friend I'm playing World of Warcraft. No, I'm not going to tell him. I got him dragged into this game and I got him addicted. It was terrible. I felt bad that, I got him way deep into the crack and it took me a long time to get him out. And I'm just thinking, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. And then I thought, if I don't tell him and he finds out I've just been playing without him and it just comes out later that I've just done this thing without him, that's going to be more drama down the line. And I'm like, I don't want that, right? So I'm just going to casually drop that I'm going to be playing on Twitch, right? Like, I have a Twitch account. I'm trying to make it work, trying to just see how I enjoy doing a Twitch channel. And I'm like, yeah, so I talked to him during lunch and I was like, I just, I have a Twitch thing going on. He's like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, I might even make affiliate next month. And so, you know what that means, right? And he was like, what? I said, well, it means that I'm probably going to use WoW Classic as content. And he was like, oh yeah? He's like, a friend of mine, I guess a coworker of his really wants him to play too, but on the Horde side. And I was like, yeah, just who knows how long it'll last. We don't know, etc. And I don't really want you to play anyways. And I don't think it's a good idea. You're trying to find a new job. You're trying to buy a house. There's just so much stuff going on in your life right now. You shouldn't be playing World of Warcraft. But I reserved your name on my server. It's sort of like, don't do drugs, kids. Here you go. I can't help. I'm just not a good, responsible person, right? I think that's what we're seeing here is that I think a part of me is like, if this becomes something we do as a hobby, I don't want to leave him out, right? I don't want to leave him out. I want him to be a part of it, but I was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to take it, we're going to be responsible. Yeah, we're going to do it very responsibly. We're not going to get too addicted. We're still going to do other things in life. We're still going to get our shit together in life. And we're not going to go too deep. No, we won't, because we're not addicts. We're not. So anyhow, he was saying to me that it may even be hard for him to play because, the graphics, like, he loved all the new tweaks they had made to retail WoW in terms of the graphics. And now he's like, we got to go back to the blockiness. And I was like, yep, it's going to be straight up vanilla and exactly how it was when it launched. And I said, also, like, the other thing is, it's going to have all of the flaws in terms of its glitches and its bugs and a lot of things that were imbalanced. And, look at the water here. Look at that. Do you see that water? Look how gross that is. I mean, sure, it was beautiful at the time, 2004, but good God, come on, let's be real here. But we were also talking about like, well, what are all the same exploits going to be there? And I said, yep, they sure are. And he was like, ooh. And I was just, I went down started going down the rabbit hole. We were like, oh God, here it is. Like, we're going to try to find, all the things that, we enjoyed about playing the game. And so it just may be a really fun month, right? Maybe we won't even make it past a month, but I think it might be fun. And we were talking about, maybe he'll take the day off on Tuesday and we'll just run around and see how far we get. And I even told him, you actually never had to level in vanilla WoW. When you started playing, it was the summer of 2006, and I had 2 level 60s at the time. I had 1 level 60 at the time, and I power leveled you. Don't you remember that? I power leveled you. I gave you all the gold. So now, if you're going to play vanilla WoW with us, you're going to have to suffer too. So we'll have to suffer together. But yes, so many things that do kind of make me really excited about it. I have a lot of excitement, I think, and I'm looking forward to sort of playing it. And this time around, when I was looking at what I wanted to play and I chose a priest here, it's because when I originally was in World of Warcraft, I didn't know what I wanted to play. I didn't know what was going to be useful. I didn't know what my play style was going to be. So I originally picked a Night Elf Druid, and then I went to a human mage. I think that was my second character. And then ultimately I went through a series of like 7 alts or something like that, with the shaman ultimately becoming my last main. And it turns out the thing that I like doing the best and the thing that I'm the best at is healing. When it comes down to healing, it's one of the hardest things to micromanage. So, you know how, the saying goes, like, if you want it done right. So I think I think it's best for me to go priest. Also, the priest gear was the one I coveted the most when I was level 60. I used to sit there in Ironforge and admire the priests and their gladiator gear and their tier 2 gear. And I was just like, their gear looks so good. And, I thought the druid stuff didn't look good. It was all right. And then the mage stuff looked okay. But the priest gear, quality. Plus the staff was just, whew, it was just awesome. Plus with the enchantment on it, looked gorgeous. So anyhow, I think that's going to be me on, I guess it launches Friday. No. It launches Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time. And I think I'm going to be trying to sit here and log in. And I'm really, really hoping, let's see, that this stays medium pop when it launches, because that would be perfect. It means we're not going to have issues getting in. We're all going to have a really good time getting to like level 20. We're going to hit dead mines and start grinding that with no problems. Anyone who's here in the full servers, y'all fucked. High pop alone was already pretty fucking devastating, if I remember from vanilla. Full? Nah. You got to remember, these servers don't run the same. The game doesn't run the same with this amount of stuff in it, with this amount of people trying to play the game. I did hear my friend Jemimas did say, no, not Jemimas, my friend Level 1 Alt was telling me that they are doing layering in World of Warcraft for the vanilla launch, which already brings me to complaining about the game. That's kind of why I quit WoWcast, my original podcast, is because I realized I only had complaints for a majority of things. So let's just get right back into it and start complaining. So layering is a way, from what I was reading, to allow the server to not have an overload, and for them to not imbalance by putting adding an extra 20, 30,000 players per server, only for them to taper off when people realize they don't want to be playing vanilla, or everyone's done with the excitement of the game, and then you have this imbalance of everyone being on one population and not, one server not being on another. So layering is going to allow them to kind of instance people in zones. Now, if you're in a party, you will see each other. But for example, say like Flip and I were playing in the game, there is a possibility with layering that I don't see him in certain zones because he's sort of instanced into whatever instance he's in of that particular zone. And so you're in Stormwind and you think you're supposed to see your friend playing around, jumping around with you, and that you don't. Does that make sense? Because that just to me was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Let me look. Let me just see if I can go ahead and look up the how they actually specified this. Okay, so here's the website. On the forum, it basically says the game director Ian Hazakostas was talking about it and said it's a limited form of sharding, which was invented for the launch of WoW Classic. The part of vanilla that they're most concerned about is that starting zones would be very annoying, like I was saying, where you just have spawns and questing zones that there's just no mobs and you're waiting around for them. So their decision then is to take a instance or a shard and then make it into an entire continent. And depending on which shard you're in is what what you're going to be seeing versus, say, someone who else is on your same server. So it's very possible that you won't even see your fellow guildmate. I don't actually, maybe it will work. Maybe cross guild it will work. But if, like, say you weren't partied up with your friend, you may not even see them in the same zone. The benefit, of course, is that you will be able to see more spawns, and there'll be more respawns for doing all of your quests. And then they said they're going to get rid of it after a few weeks. And so then this will be completely diluted, and then you won't have to worry about it. Now, again, if, say, you'll be assigned a layer at random upon logging into the game. And then, you may not be able to see someone who, say, ganked your guildmate because they were ganked from somebody in a different shard. And I feel like this is my complaint about this, is that it takes away from what made vanilla so fun, was that we felt like we were very much on our own, like, world, and that world felt real, and it felt organic and visceral. And just, if you have the situation now where your guildmate is off doing something and they get ganked by somebody and you come to go rescue them, you don't even, you're not even part of, their little experience. It's a completely different area because it's considered a different layer of the same continent. Anyhow, I think it's very frustrating and silly for them to do this. But at the same time, maybe it would have been necessary. Maybe the queue times would just be hours and hours and hours otherwise. I don't know. They clearly think that this is the best way to do, to handle the high pop server overload situations, and especially dealing with respawn issues. But my thinking is, if you want to play vanilla, you gotta just suffer. That's the whole experience of playing vanilla, is that we all suffer the same sort of grind and the pain and the slowness of it. And I just feel like the idea of, okay, well, we're just gonna find a way so that you guys don't have to have that same experience and make it a little bit easier, takes away from the whole aspect of what people liked about vanilla in the first place, right? I mean, am I crazy? That's just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Well, I do know how I feel about that, but maybe it's something about the technology I don't really quite understand. So let me know what you guys think about that. Which character are you going to roll first? Did you already figure out what type of player you are, what type of class you're best at? And then also, what do you guys think about this whole sharding, layering thing? I don't know. Yeah, and of course, are you going to be playing on launch day? All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Again, I will put the links to my old WoWcast episodes in the description down below if you care to take a listen to a very, very young and naive Alachia playing World of Warcraft. And I will see you guys very soon. Bye.